Welcome to Over 40, Fabulous and Pregnant. This is episode 6. I am your host, Jamie Massey. The mission of our show is to celebrate and support women in their 40s pregnancy journey. If you're over 40 and pregnant right now and listening to this, I just want to give you comfort to know that other women are right here with you alongside your journey, even if it's virtually. And while we do discuss medical treatments and medicine, we're not doctors. These are women's experiences and their story and should not be taken as medical advice. On today's show, we have a Melissa from Montana. She turned 40 during her pregnancy and just had her baby 2 months ago. This is her third child. Her children are 9 and 11. They live on a ranch and have all the animals. Totally fun. They have hairy cows, those big long-haired ones. So cute. And goats and chickens, all the animals. But her pregnancy story, it starts a month into their marriage. She had gallbladder surgery that went terribly wrong, and they ended up having to remove her ovary and that fallopian tube. She briefly tells this story, but I have a link in the description for her full story on Facebook. And man, I just got so mad at that doctor. Terrible, terrible work. Should not be practicing. He even gave her a bill at the end of it. I was so mad at that doctor. That is a heartbreaking story, but we know there is a good ending to that. And if you have any questions or comments, you can email me at jamie@over40fabulousandpregnant.com. I met the love of my life in my early 30s, but I didn't know he was the love of my life till about 10 years later. So that's why I'm 41 and almost 42, and we're trying to have kids. After we got married, we tried to have kids for about a year and a half. We ended up having a miscarriage and an ectopic pregnancy that ended up taking my fallopian tube. So we are in the IVF process now. And this podcast is really the only place I talk about it publicly. I don't like to post it on social media or anything like that. And I really want to make that part of the podcast special. I think I told you last week that we started medication and we've been doing it for a week. And my husband made me take the medication, and I was so angry at him. And all the medication is injections, needles. I am a recovering fainter, and I just thought, there's no way I'm going to be able to do this. And here he is making me do these injections. I was so mad. And you know what? I have overcome so much. I'm not mad at him anymore. And I did the injections last night. Just bam, like 15 minutes and I'm done. I am so proud of myself. I feel so fabulous that I can give myself injections and not faint and not have to go lay down anymore. And our last sonogram was like 3 days ago. I had 3 follicles and I started a third injection. So for a total of 3 every night. But if it all goes well, the egg retrieval will be this week. Oh my gosh, this week. I'm excited and all the emotions, but I feel kind of powerless. I just feel absolutely dependent on the drugs and the dosage to produce all these follicles. And it gives me so much anxiety because I don't know what the expectations are. And they're just like, we don't know. We'll see. We'll have to check. Is 4 good? Is 12 good? I guess we just need one good one at the end of it. But I don't know. I'm really big on setting expectations. And my estrogen level was 527 on Thursday. But my anxiety is 1,000. I want to cry at the drop of a hat. I called my mom and I started crying And she's like, why are you crying? And I'm like, I don't know. So this has been a roller coaster. And you know what? Let's just get into Melissa's story because I'm just going to start crying for I don't know why. Melissa, welcome to Over 40 Fabulous and Pregnant.
Hi, thank you.
And before we get started, please introduce yourself.
Well, my name is Melissa. I live in eastern Montana. I grew up in Montana and I did a little stint in Alaska. I am a teacher by trade. I got my teaching degree and moved to Alaska for a year. And I didn't love it. My family lived in Alaska. They loved it. I am not an Alaska kind of person. I am Alaska visit, but a not Alaska stay. So I moved back to Montana, and that's kind of where I reconnected with my husband. He and I went to high school together, different high schools in the same district. So we live in his hometown, and his family ranch is here. So he works on the ranch, and I am obviously on maternity leave right now, but Montana, my whole life, we really like it. I just turned 40 in May, and my husband jokes with me because if you're around me enough, he says, you introduce yourself as, hi, my name is Melissa. I'm 40 and I'm pregnant.
That's cute.
Like you don't have to tell people you're 40 all the time. And I'm like, but I am. And he would get, cause I don't look 40. I honestly don't. I have, very good Norwegian genes. My parents did not age. My brother looks really young. When I tell people I'm 40, they just kind of like shake their head and they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, yep, I'm 40. So when I found out I was pregnant, they don't call it a geriatric pregnancy anymore, but I work at a hospital, nursing home with geriatric patients. So it was kind of our joke that I had a lot in common with them because I was referred to as geriatric as well. So, but we have 3 kids. That's crazy for me to say. We have 3 kids. We live on a ranch. I have my hobbies include collecting farm animals. I like to drink coffee. I call it coffee and critters. So I have my little silky chickens. I have buffalo. I have 3 buffalo and some goats. I have fainting goats. And then we have some horses. So we're back and forth to Fort Worth, actually, for like the world's greatest horseman. We go down there for some horse shows, and my husband does the reining cow horse. Mm-hmm. So we have some horses that are pretty fancy that go to these shows, and then we like to go watch the horse shows as well. So there's actually one going on right now. Yeah.
Tell us what you do for a living.
I'm a teacher by trade. And then when I had my son, I was still teaching. It's really hard to go back to work after you have your kiddos. I was fortunate enough that we had some daycare opportunities here. But then after my daughter was born, the daycare wasn't, small towns, there's not a lot of daycare. A lot of times our daycare wasn't actually taking infants. They had to be potty trained before they would take them. So after I had my daughter, we tried finding daycare for a while. It didn't work. So I ended up leaving my job at the school, and I became a stay-at-home mom for 4 or 5 years. And we have a local clinic. I did in-home parenting classes, and then COVID hit. I was actually going to put that in my notes. COVID kind of like, I don't know, messed up everything, but at the same time I got pregnant during COVID, so I can't say too much about it. So after COVID, my department actually closed down, so I went back home, and we were homeschooling our kids, and I got a phone call one day from the hospital, and a friend of mine was like, I think this would be a really good job for you. And she told me it was the activities director at the nursing home, and I was like, I think you called the wrong person. I think you're crazy. I work with kids. And she's like, no, I think this would be good for you. And I told her no. And I hung up and I actually got on Pinterest. I didn't Google it. I don't know why I got on Pinterest, but I got on Pinterest and I looked up like activities for nursing homes or elderly arts and crafts or something. I thought, you know what? I can do this. So for the last 18 months, almost 2 years, I have been working at the hospital as the activities director, and it's taken like a 360. Like I was published nationally in a online like nursing home website for some of my activities. So
Congratulations.
Thank you. It was crazy. This whole year, I tell you what, I was nominated and won. Our state has like a 40 under 40. I don't know if Texas does anything like that. So like entrepreneurs that are under 40. The photo that was published, I was telling my husband, I had like a blazer on. I was like, man, this thing, I feel bloated. I feel puffy. And he's like, oh, it happens. Well, so now when I look at that picture, I didn't know I was pregnant, but in that picture, I found out I was pregnant like maybe a week later. So I giggle when I look at this photo that's in that was published, because I was like, oh, I was pregnant. That explains a lot, like the bloat. So yeah, I work at a nursing home, and it's been really, I focus on, people don't go to a nursing home to die. They go there to thrive. We have fun. And now my son just turned 11. My daughter turns 9 this week, and now with a newborn. So things are a little different now than they were 10 years ago with my job situation, trying to find daycare. Now we have sports, I'm carting around the little one to the sports, and it's just different. Everything's different from the first one versus the third one.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can't imagine, actually. So tell us about when you got pregnant in that story.
Okay, so when I got married, Chase and I got married in September of 2009. In October of 2009, so I had only been I'd only been married for a month. I got really sick, and I went to the doctor, and they told me that I had gallstones, which is like truly not a big surgery. I believe it's like laparoscopic in and out kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. So my family lived in Alaska. My new mother-in-law was like, you know what, I'll go with you. My husband is also a fishing guide on the side. I guess I should say that. So we had just purchased a brand new house, and I called it house poor. We need money. So he was going to go take up some guide trips to pay our house payment. And I was fine with that. I was like, your mom will be with me. Everything will be fine. And so I went in to get my gallbladder taken out, and my mother-in-law was with me. And when I woke up, my husband was standing above me, and I was like, whoa, what is going on here? And I just kind of like freaked out. And he's like, I did not tell them they could do this. And I said, what? And I remember wiggling my fingers and wiggling my toes, because I thought, am I one of those people that they accidentally like amputated a hand or something, or a foot? Like, am I going to be on Dateline or something? And I was like, what are you talking about? Why are you here? And I kind of started to freak out a little bit, and he calmed me down and told me what had happened. Well, long story short, the doctor had taken out my gallbladder, but he had nicked my appendix on the way out. And then when he cleaned it up, he left a sponge inside and sewed me up. So my surgery, I feel like, was on Friday or a Saturday. And when I was talking with my husband, it was a Thursday. So it had been like 5 or 6 days that I was under, that I had no idea. Like, I had zero concept of time, because I thought I went under and I woke up the same day, and it had actually been like 6 days. So in those 6 days, that sponge that had been left inside, those particles created an infection and just completely took out the whole side of my lady bits. So my one ovary and my fallopian tube completely dyed like black. And so the OB came in, and she said, this is what happened. And she explained everything to me, and she started showing me pictures. And like, I just burst into tears, and I just like looked at my husband. I said, please leave me. Like, you married a lemon, you married a dud. Like, this is your time to get out. You need to leave. And I was like hysterical. And he was like, I married you for better or worse. And I was like, yeah, but this wasn't supposed to happen a month into our marriage. I still get really, emotional about it because he's such a good husband. He's a very good dad. And, yeah, we've gone through a lot. It's all me, he's like healthy as a horse. Everything that's ever happened has been on my side. So the surgeries and obviously the pregnancies and stuff. So this doctor, my mother-in-law, I know that the listeners can't see this, but like, she was taking notes, and she ended up sending a letter, a book. She wrote down so much. I mean, it was like 2 inches worth of pages and pages and pages of things that she would hear, things that she would see, the care that was not given or given to me. And she handed it to me, maybe like 6 months after my surgery. And she said, do what you want with this. I think you should send it to the CEO. But it's your call. So after this surgery, this doctor said, this is going to be a character building experience for you. And I was like, this guy had the nerve to tell me this. He basically played God on me. And, so only being a month into marriage, telling us that if you want to get pregnant, you got to start trying right away. And we were like, what? We have things we want to do. My husband is a bit younger than me. So our plans were not, we wanted to travel, we wanted to hang out, we wanted to do all these things. And then, hearing that, we were like, oh gosh. So with that surgery, my hormones really were out of whack. I gained like 30 pounds, like within a month. And that's pretty hard on a person physically and mentally. And it took us close to 3.5 years to get pregnant with my son. And let me tell you, and I'm sure you're very aware of this too, but like every month when you would get your period, it would be just like a dagger in the heart.
Yeah.
It was so hard. It was so hard that we were trying. And then we just stopped trying. I said, maybe it's not meant to be. And there was these little kiddos that I worked at the school that I was at. They were actually in foster care, and they were going up for adoption. And they were up for adoption, and the younger one got adopted and the older one didn't. And it broke my heart because I don't understand why people don't adopt siblings, but one of them got adopted and the other one didn't. And the day I told my husband, I want to adopt this girl, she was a middle schooler. She was in 7th grade. Her name was Martha. Like, she was just cute, little old lady name. I went to the bank to open up an adoption account, and I found out I was pregnant with our son that same day. So instead of opening an adoption account, I ended up opening like a baby account. And she did get adopted. Her foster family ended up adopting her, so it all worked out for everyone.
Good.
So it took us, like I said, about 3.5 years to get pregnant with our son. So we thought it would be similar with our daughter, just based on like only having half the parts needed. And we actually got pregnant with her like right away. So our kids they were due on the same day, 2 years apart.
Oh, fun. So, what a coincidence.
I know. Well, and then when you do the math, this is the part that's funny. I always try to find the humor in everything. So like, oh my gosh, how is it that your kids are due on the same day? Like, what were you guys doing back then? I'm like, oh, so I do the math, and they were both, we call our Super Bowl babies. So they were both conceived around Super Bowl, and my husband and I are both like sports. He's very athletic. He actually wrestled in Japan. He's very athletic. He played college football, all that fun stuff. So, yeah, there are our Super Bowl babies. And they were both due on October 26th, which is my mom's birthday. My son via C-section. I have a fake hip. I don't know if I mentioned that. in our previous conversation. So I actually have a stainless steel hip. That's a whole nother story. I'm like the bionic woman. He was born on October 13th, and I called him Gargantu Baby for so long because I had gained about 100 pounds, and the doctor said at full term he's going to be 11 pounds, so we have to do a C-section, obviously because of my hip and because of his size. So he was born on October 13th, 2011, and then my daughter was also a good size. She was 8'12", and she was born October 28th. So neither one of them came on their due date, but they were both big babies.
So was all of them conceived naturally?
Yep. Yes.
That's incredible. I have one ovary, and my first thought is I can't get pregnant with one ovary. So that's incredible for all the women out there that only have one ovary or one tube. I'm sorry, I'm missing a tube, not an ovary.
Yep, and I'm missing both of those. So I only have one ovary and one fallopian tube.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so when now fast forward to, my son's name is Blaine, my daughter's name is Bailey, and everybody was assuming we were going to go with another B name. My son Trip, when we found out we were pregnant, she's like, oh yeah, it came from the left side. And I said, well, that's the only side. And she's like, what do you mean? And I was like, because I don't have anything on the other side. And she's like, oh, well, that makes sense then, like when the ultrasound tech was looking at all the stuff. So we found out we were pregnant right before we went to Texas the second time last year. And we decided on the name Trip because when I turned 40, our plan was we were going to take a big trip. We were going to go to Vegas. Montana is pretty close to South Dakota. Deadwood is really fun. We thought maybe we'd go to Deadwood or Hawaii or something. We wanted to take a trip, and we couldn't. So I told my husband, this is our trip. He is our trip of a lifetime. Like, we obviously was meant to be. So that is how he got his name. So we have Blaine, Bailey, and Trip. Yep.
Cute names.
And they were all natural. With the Blaine and Bailey, like I said, I got so frustrated that I just said, let's just stop. And then that's kind of when it happened. And I know it might sound cliche, like you stop trying and it happens, but it's the truth. I mean, I know that a lot of people go other routes, but we thought, well, we can foster, we can adopt, or we can just wait it out for a while. So, and with Trip, again, there was a football game involved. So our Montana State actually went to Texas for the national championship. And that was the same weekend that little baby was conceived. So I guess football is our thing.
That's cute. So how was your pregnancy with Trip?
With all three of them, I have gained 80 to 100 pounds and at least 40 pounds of water. I was retaining so much water with my first pregnancy, not so much the second, and then a lot with the third. Like, I would cry. I could barely walk up our stairs to get in our house. I couldn't bend my knees because I had so much swelling all the way up to, my thighs. You poke it and it just takes your finger away, Wow. So I was retaining a lot of water. Everybody thought because of my age and because of my size that I would have gestational diabetes, but I didn't. I didn't have it with any of my kids, and I guess I would just call myself maybe lucky. I'm tall, I'm big, so I can carry myself a little better. I gained a lot of weight, and I think my height was good for that because I can carry it better. But
how tall are you?
I'm 5'9". I mean, I'm not huge, but I'm tall enough that it's awkward to buy pants, and I'm always the tallest one in the group. And I come from a large family. Like I said, a Norwegian stock. My brother's 6'7", my dad is 6'6". I always joke that I'm like the smallest one in the family. My husband and I are about the same height. So it's not like I'm walking and people are like, oh my God, that lady's tall. It's just, oh, you're taller for a lady. So,
Mm-hmm.
so I didn't have like preeclampsia, nothing like that, which the doctors, like my blood pressure, everything was always perfect because every time I'd go in with trip, I was miserable. And my doctor would say, I'm sorry. I mean, if you weren't healthy, if you had high blood pressure or anything like that, like we would definitely talk about having a C-section earlier, but you're not. You just got to let that baby keep baking. And I'm like, oh, I would cry. I would actually be like, I'm just so miserable and it hurt. I felt like I was walking around on two sprained ankles I mean, and Montana is like hot. We had a hot summer.
Mm-hmm.
And so going outside or trying to stay hydrated, I mean, there was just like, I was just miserable. And my husband would say, you know, he felt bad for me because it just looked like it hurt, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So medically, I'm very healthy, but me personally, I would just constantly be telling everybody I feel icky. Like I would wear compression socks and even the compression socks would only do so much, you know,
Mm-hmm.
but I gained, water retention was the worst thing with my pregnancy,
Mm-hmm.
hands down.
Mostly just you were uncomfortable during the pregnancy. Nothing was really
Oh
wrong.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did you have
Just
morning
super uncomfortable.
sickness?
Yes. And let me tell you, working at a nursing home, all the smells, my assistant joked that she was going to carry a trash can around right behind me half the time. And oofda, there was a lot of dry heaving going on. And I didn't have that with either one of I didn't have that with my first two. And I just chalk everything up to my age. I'm a jokester and I'm like, well, it's definitely because I'm older. That's what's happening here. And everybody says, no, it's because your baby's going to have a lot of hair. That's why you have acid reflux, or that's why you have morning sickness. And I'm like, no, he came out with just normal amount of hair, just like my other two. So, I did have some morning sickness to the point where I had to get like a prescription for it. I got like the little dissolvable pills that helped me out a ton.
Mm-hmm.
But nothing like I didn't miss work or anything because of it. I just dealt with it.
Mm-hmm. Did you find out the sex before you had your birth?
Yes, I am a planner. And the fact that, you know, it's been 11 years since our son and then 9 years since our daughter, we gave everything away. We don't have clothes. We didn't have bassinets, no car seats or anything. I said, you know, I'm going to find out, first of all, because I want to know a name. I want to get a name hashed out. And then we need to start getting clothes built back up. I mean, I had so many people say, hey, if you're having a boy, I got like this pile of clothes. Or, hey, if you're having a girl, I got all these little girly things for you. And so that was kind of why I did it. I wanted to know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like that with Christmas too. I don't have it on right now, but I already got my Christmas present. I just can't. I can't. Things just, no, we don't keep secrets. I'm not good at that.
And so during your pregnancy, did you have any like products or anything that you just loved and were go-to?
Just my compression socks. Working at a hospital, obviously I'm surrounded by nurses and doctors, and they all have their, oh, you need to wear this and you need to wear this. But I would get on Amazon, or we had like a traveling scrubs sale that would come to us, and I'd buy fun compression socks. That was about the only thing that throughout my whole pregnancy I know that I couldn't live without.
Mm-hmm.
Towards the end, I started using some of the Burt's Bees. It's like a minty lotion for your legs. That felt so good. And I kicked myself. I thought, man, I should have done this a lot earlier, but it felt so soothing and so good. Just refreshing on my legs, like almost like ice packs on my little legs.
Oh, that sounds nice. And because you had 11 years between your kids, did you feel like you needed to do classes or anything like that?
So with Blaine and Bailey, because of Blaine's size, I was trying to nurse, and we ended up supplementing him, and I just went straight over to formula. It just worked out better. I mean, I was miserable trying to keep my kid fed, and I didn't want that. So with Bailey, we did formula too. So with like the formula shortage with Trip, I told myself, okay, I'm going to pump. We're going to do this. We're going to get, it's going to be awesome. So I got like one of those fancy pumps that goes in your shirt.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of like look like donuts.
Uh-huh.
And like people don't even know they're there. You could be like, I sat next to my husband in our car. We were going to an appointment, and I pulled him out, and he was like, whoa, were you doing that the whole time we were driving? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, I didn't even know, because my boobs were huge anyways because of all the milk they were holding.
Mm-hmm.
So he just thought my boobs were like ginormous porn star boobs, like huge, huge. And so I took those things out, and whoa, okay. And so I did that for a while. Well, the pump broke. Oh, I was so bummed out, because this was like a really fancy, I spent a lot of money on this pump, and I contacted the company, and it took like 2.5 weeks to get the part. So I was like hand pumping, and it all went downhill. I went to the doctor, and the lactation consultant wasn't a fan of the hand pump that I had. And
that sounds terrible and time consuming.
It was, but I was trying my best. And Trip, he wasn't losing any weight, but he wasn't gaining as much as they had wanted. So my husband and I talked about it. Like, I would pump as much as I could, but I was basically like feeding him with formula and then supplementing him with breast milk, because I wasn't producing a ton anyways.
Mm-hmm.
That was my problem with my first 2 kids. I'm not a milker. I don't produce a lot. So we did what we could. So he's on just 100% formula now. So, but those pumps, like for people that are working or anything like that, that's something that I would totally recommend. They're fancy. So they offered a class, getting back to that. They offered a class on how to use this pump and all those things. And I was like, hey, I can do this. Other than that, I didn't do any like birthing classes or anything. I don't say I'd wing it, but I'm just kind of like going with the flow, maybe.
Mm-hmm. What about cravings?
So my biggest craving was refried beans, like 24/7. I would eat them straight out of the can. My friends that I work with would can them, would jar them, and bring them to work for me. And I would warm them up and eat them like straight like that. Or I'd put them on a tortilla and eat them. I'd just put some hot sauce and sour cream, whip it around, and just eat it straight from the jar or straight from the can. I love refried beans, and it wasn't a bad thing, because it's full of, I was lacking something, but I love refried beans anyways. So like this day, I'll still sit down and do that. I ate a lot of cereal, Fruity Pebbles, and I was always craving like cherry pie filling.
Oh, yeah.
Just the filling. And I've always been like, I like hot. I like salsa. I like jalapenos. So between like the cherry pie filling and the refried beans, I would eat, jalapeno poppers as much as I could, but I would get heartburn pretty easily. So that made me miserable. I'd eat something at 5, 6 o'clock at night, and then 1 o'clock in the morning, I'd wake up and I'd have the worst heartburn. Oh. And I don't know why it hit me so late, but it always did. So,
wow. For all 3 of your births, they had to be a C-section because of your hip.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Which this 3rd C-section, the incision has been like the worst part ever. I told my husband I would take a spinal tap every day for a week over this incision. It's, again, probably because of my age. My skin is different than 10 years ago. But like going over the same scar tissue once, twice, 3 times, it's just not healing as fast as I want. Actually, tomorrow is my 6-week post-op. So I have a lot of questions for my doctor tomorrow about the healing process of this incision. versus the last two, like why it's not healing as quickly as I would like. Maybe it's just me, but I feel like after 6 weeks, I should be good to go. I'm healing. I feel like I'm healing slower than I did with my first two. So, and I'm also a natural redhead. So that kind of takes into the way that you heal, the way that natural redheads have a higher pain tolerance.
Really?
And most, I would say 99.9% of redheads also have anemia. So throughout my pregnancy, I also had to up my iron via iron pills or eating more iron or whatever like that. So I don't know if this has anything to do with, I need to be maybe taking some more iron pills to keep the blood production going. I don't know why it's not healing as fast as I'd like, but I popped a stitch.
Ooh.
When I was my first C-section, I was trying to walk up my stairs. And like I said, I had so much water retention that I couldn't bend my knees. And I hooked my foot on my stair and I tripped. So that I have a weird, funny scar from my first C-section. And so I will never do that again. I will be really careful. And I've been so careful with this third C-section. I was literally laying on the couch and I stretched and I popped a stitch.
Oh.
And I'm like, what? That's just my luck. I have a little opening in my incision right now that I don't know if it needs to get glued shut or sewn shut or something, but we'll talk about that tomorrow with my doctor. Of all the things, just stretching. I mean, that's just, yeah.
It's the little things. Let's go to your birth. Let's talk about that.
With Trip, every time we'd go in for our appointment, you have your monthly appointments and they go to 2 weeks and then they go to 1 week. And at our 1 week appointments, once a week, I was like, can we please go? I have the bag packed. I'm ready to go. And she's like, nope, we have to let him bake some more, his lungs are still developing and da-da-da-da-da. And I was like, okay. So he was due on September 28th. And we had our C-section planned for September 22nd. That was as early as she would allow. And then, so my husband, I had mentioned we have a ranch. He had gathered some cows one day and it was a long day. I was in bed and I was just laying there and he comes in and he's like, oh my gosh, I'm so exhausted. I've been up since 4:00. I'm ready to just zonk out. And his head hit the pillow and I'm laying on my side because you can't lay on your back or your stomach, whatever. I'm laying on my side and I just feel like this gush. And I was like, whoa, my water didn't break with my first two kids. So I didn't know what this sensation was. Obviously I knew it was my water, but I was kind of in denial. No, I have my bags packed, but I was like, what's going on here? And I stood up and I gushed again and I'm screaming and Chase pops right back out of bed. And he's like, what's going on? And I'm like, I think my water broke. And I'm walking over to the bathroom and I'm not even joking you. This is something you'd see in a movie. It was just gushing out of me. And I was freaked out because there's only so much time in between when your water breaks to when you have to have your baby. And I couldn't have him naturally. So I was like, oh gosh, we got to go. I love leggings. I wore leggings my whole pregnancy and these leggings were just soaked. So I take the leggings off and I put new leggings on and I stand back up and I gush again. And I'm like, you know what? Screw it. I'm not going to be able to change clothes. So I just wrapped a towel. I made this big diaper. It looked like a sumo wrestler. I was walking around with this big towel diaper and we get into our car. We have an SUV, leather seats. So I was like, okay, thankfully, if anything gets on our seats, I can just wipe them off. And so we don't live in the town that we had him. We live about 45 minutes away. So I called my doctor and she wasn't on call that night. I ended up meeting a new doctor and she was amazing and I really liked her. But when we got to the ER, I was like, yeah, my water broke and they put me in a wheelchair and I stood up and I gushed out again. I was just gushing. And so when they got me into the hospital bed, hooked me up to all the machines, they're like, we need to test you. We need to make sure that your water did break. And here's this little patch that tests for amniotic fluid. And she's like, oh, yep, that's definitely your water broke. And I was like, no kidding. She said, actually like 3%. It's less than 3% of women that get pregnant and have their water breaks like that. Most of it is like a trickle and you don't even know your water broke.
Yeah, it's just in the
And
movies that it's usually like that.
Yes. Yes. And she's like, whoa, you are gushing for reals. And I was like, okay, let's do this. So that was on September 13th. So, I mean, we still had almost 10 days, 9 days before my C-section was scheduled. And so I was quasi-prepared. I mean, I had my things in the back of my car. And so when we got to the hospital, they hooked me up to the machines. And I'm kind of like, I mean, we left in the middle of the night. It was like 10:30. And we told our kids, hey, grandma's on the way over. We'll see you in the morning. You can come visit me. I think mom's going to have a baby. And my kids were both like, what? Like that moment of we've had like all these months to prepare. But like when those words come out of your mouth, you're like, whoa, crap, this is really happening. So when we were in the hospital room, because of like having a C-section and I needed to have like anesthesia, I had to wait. It ended up being about 3:00 in the morning. So all the food that was in my system or anything that was in my system, because they don't want you having fluids or food or anything. So we got there probably about 11:30, and we just waited it out until 3:00. So Trip was born at 3:02 via C-section. And my poor husband, like I said, he had been up since 4. Aww. And it was a very long day for him, but totally worth it. Yep. He's a good baby. I just, you're laying there on that table and there's just all these thoughts going through your head, and there's sounds, there's lights in your face, there's nurses and doctors and all these people, all these assistants. And then I heard him cry, when they pulled him out. And then that was just like, oh my gosh, this is happening. I can't believe that I'm 40 and I just had another baby. And I like to share things. I probably overshare, to be honest, but I do. I take a lot of pictures. I post a lot of things on Instagram or Facebook because I want people to know about my journey. I want people to know that it's okay. You don't have to be embarrassed, or you don't have to be scared that just because you're 40, things have come a long way. And even my doctor had her children at an older age because she was busy. She was going through med school. And then, by the time she was ready, she was older. I feel like technology these days is on our side. Mm-hmm. So many people are like, technology is horrible. And I always say, like, use your powers for good, not evil. Like, I love all the technology. Without that, my anxiety, I had postpartum depression super bad after my daughter. And like the technology that I have now, I can have, a camera on my baby in the back seat. I have like an outlet sock that tests his heart rate and his oxygen when he sleeps at night. I have all these little, just the technology that allows me to kind of like chill out. Mm-hmm. Because I think with my first 2 kids, I was I didn't sleep a lot. I was on edge just because I was like, are they breathing? Are they okay? Am I doing this right? I'd always be checking them. So now I sleep a little better because I can have, knowing that if something were to go wrong with him, this little alert would go off, or, it's okay. I'm not trying to be a hero here. If technology is going to help me sleep, then technology is going to let me sleep. Like some people are like, just deal with it. I'm like, nope, that's different strokes for different folks. If I want to use all the technology, I'm totally going to use the technology. And I am grateful for that this go around because I feel like it's helped my anxiety a ton.
Besides the water retention and the fact that you aren't really healing as quickly as the other ones, what are the differences between your other pregnancies and then this third pregnancy in your 40s?
We are a little better off, like job wise. Like we don't have so many bills. Like with our first 2, I just feel like we just had house bills and cell phone bills and car bills. And like right now we're doing a lot better, like financially. Mm-hmm. But like with me personally, the weight gain, it hit me really quick, and I was like, I don't need to gain all this weight. I can handle this. I eat fine and I'm not overeating, and yet I still gained 80 pounds. And it's just, my husband kept saying, it'll all come off, and it's for a good reason. There's a purpose here. Yeah. I have rosacea, and that really flared up. And so that was one of my biggest things, was like trying to get my face under control, because that was embarrassing. I'm already like huge, pregnant, and 40, and then my face is just like erupting. Like I have angry Norwegian skin. So that was really hard. Other than that, I mean, I feel like this pregnancy went by really quick, and it's not really any different from my first two as far as the summer months, because they're October babies and he was end of September. I feel like I maybe have more support. And like I said, I wasn't so stressed out, with him. I mean, obviously there were points where I was like, when we heard a heartbeat and growing, and they wanted us to do, you know, like the testing for Down syndrome or any sort of mutilations or anything that happens like after 40. And I told my husband, I said, I really don't want to find out. I said, I'll love him regardless. And he said, well, if there was something wrong, don't you want to prepare it? Well, obviously, if there's something wrong, they checked out heart and they checked out brain. But I said, as far as like special needs, I said, we can handle whatever God's going to give us. So I just feel like this one was a lot easier, to be honest, because I wasn't so stressed out.
Yeah, because you're going to be good no matter what.
Right. And then everybody's like, oh, you have your kids to help you. And I said, and that was huge to me, because with my first two being so close in age, I was, you know, they're both in diapers at one point. And so that was crazy. And now I'm like, oh, I do have helpers. Whereas when the first two were born, I didn't really have helpers, like little kids running around to help me. Like my daughter helps me make bottles. My son will take the dirty diapers out to the trash, you know, and that's like a huge, it may sound small, but it's a huge help. I mean, it really is.
Yeah, they really can be good help.
We got one of these it's called a baby brezza. It heats the water up to like room temp, and I can make a bottle in 12 seconds. I mean, that, you want to talk? Wow. I know. So my daughter thinks that's the coolest thing. It's like a little coffee machine. You push a button, the water comes out, you shake up the formula, boom, you're done.
It's a Keurig for baby formula.
It is. I'm like, when we're done with this, we could probably put anything in it. So,
do you think you're going to have more kids in your 40s?
We love kids. I mean, my husband and I, at some point, we got a letter from our doctor, our OB, that was our first doctor with Blaine and Bailey. We got a letter that he was retiring. And my husband was like, oh no, we got to have another kid before he retires. We absolutely loved him. He was amazing. And obviously, I mean, we weren't going to have another kid just because he was retiring, but we did start talking about it years ago, about maybe having another baby. And again, like, you know, financially we can do this. But with my husband showing horses, you know, we do a lot of rodeos. We always talked about, you know, we're at a good place where we can just get up and go. Like when we hopped on a plane and we flew to Fort Worth, it's a direct flight from Billings to Fort Worth. You know, we have the flexibility to do that. And I was like, you're right. We're kind of at a different stage in our marriage. We just kind of want to travel. We're doing all the things that we wanted to do when we were first married. And then when we got back from Texas, I just wasn't feeling well. And we do like a grocery pickup. And I was like, you know, it just feels weird. And I'm like, I'm kind of joking with myself, but I added on like the pregnancy test. My husband was out in the barn. We have an arena out there, and he was working some horses. And I took that P test, and I asked my daughter, I said, can you go get your dad? Hurry. I said, Mom's not feeling well. You need to go get your dad. And he runs in, and I showed him this, and he's like, what? And I was like, oh my God, what? And he's like, are you kidding me? How many of the, and I said, you know what? I had all different brands. I had this brand. I had this brand. I had this brand. I had the digital pea sticks. I had the regular. I said, here, all of them. And I gave them all to him. And I said, they all stay pregnant. And he was like, whoa. So like, we were initially in like a ton of shock. And we didn't tell our kids for a while. We got them shirts and we took them out for lunch. And so now that we have them here, my husband's like, you know, he needs a friend. Maybe we should have one more. And I'm like, I think I'm good. I think that this was like a blessing in disguise. And I think that although the way that my structured brain works, having another would make sense, because then there's like two that can play with each other and two that can play with each other. But right now we'll just cross that bridge when we get there. But I think that we're good. My husband's probably going to get snipped, so we don't have that. But the thing is, it's like we struggled getting pregnant. So when I asked my doctor about this, she's like, you know, some things just happen. And I'm like, all right, I guess this is God's way of saying he needed us. We needed him. And my dad told me one day, because I said, I can't believe I'm bringing a child into this world, another child. They said, this is scary. We live in a scary world right now. And my dad said, what if your kid grows up to be the next president? Or what if your kid grows up and cures cancer? He goes, you just need to see the positive in it. Yes, we live in a scary world, but, this little baby could grow up to be something amazing. So could your other kids. But the reason that you're having him, there's got to be a reason, Yeah.
What a beautiful way to put it, too. A positive, great spin.
Yeah, my dad does that to me often. I try to be frumpy and he switches it up a little bit. So my parents, speaking of, were very excited. My parents lived in Alaska when I had both my first and my second kids. So they met their grandkids over FaceTime, and that was really hard on them, but thankful for technology that they could. So with this one, my dad, he just retired. He was the superintendent of schools in Alaska. He just retired, and my mom was home. I called her, but my dad literally got off a plane and came straight to the hospital the day after this baby was born. So my parents are able to experience what they weren't able to with the first two.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, the cuddles and the all the things. So it worked out.
Well, do you have anything else you would like to add?
No, just rock it. Just have fun. Yeah, I wish that more people would just quit caring what people think. I mean, just do what you want, I'm very eccentric. I like my outfits are always bright colored. My hair, I'm always doing something with my hair. Just because you're pregnant doesn't mean that you have to wear frumpy clothes or you have to stop wearing makeup or stop fixing your hair, Although I did buy Crocs for the first time. I'm not a Croc person, but they were they were the only thing that fit me. But I did get leopard print Crocs, and I got all sorts of different designs, and that was fun. That helped me out at work because obviously I can wear Crocs at work. Mm-hmm. But just like you were saying, find the positive. Have fun with it. I mean, it'll go by so quick. Seriously, I can't believe that. I still have I sit back and I'm like, wow, I have 3 kids. Even saying that, it sounds so funny coming out of my mouth, but we have 3 kids and they're happy and they're healthy. And I'm really grateful for that because, it could have turned out differently. So this little baby was a happy accident. Yep.
That's great. Are you still doing Scentsy?
Mm-hmm. I am a superstar director for Scentsy. That's the highest level. There's nobody above me. I worked really, really, really hard to get where I'm at. Through my first 2 pregnancies, that supplemented our income. And then I'm able to travel, and I just love my team. I have hundreds of people under me. There's some in Texas too. And I love sharing my story with them because it's part of my life. It's part of my kids don't know anything different. I mean, I've been doing Scentsy for 13 years, and some people don't love direct sales, but to be honest, I mean, it's built a lot of friendships, and the culture of my team is amazing. We just get along. We have so much fun, and yeah, I love it.
I love your story, and I will definitely link that story in the description.
Cool.
Also.
Yep. I enjoy it. I've done lots of trainings, and I always share this part of my story about the pregnancies and stuff, because if you are persistent, things will finally happen. Hopefully. I mean, you never know. It could be weeks, it could be months, it could be years, but just persist.
Yeah. I do have to ask about your $90,000 bill for that surgery. Did you ever find out what happened? Or were you just never going to deal with that again?
When I would call the bill collectors or I'd call the billing department, I'd say, this is Melissa Fisher. I need to talk to the billing department. And they'd say, well, now we've added interest. So that's this and this and this and this. And I'm like, okay, no. I did send that big notebook full of information to the CEO of the hospital. And I believe he probably got that and wrote everything off. They can write that stuff off. I'm sure 90,000 was nothing to them, but it was just a world of hurt to us. Yeah. So yeah, I remember that day. I was in my office and they said, your account has been zeroed out. And I just hung up. I was like, what? Okay, thank you. And I never called back. I never requested any information, nothing. I mean, I never followed up, and I'm the kind of person that does follow up. I want to be I just wanted to make sure there's a lot of Melissa Fishers, to be honest. even in like the vicinity of where I live, the Fisher name is very prevalent. And, nope, I never called back. I never did anything. I just walked away from it. And I've had, there was so much scar tissue in there after that botched surgery that with my first 2 pregnancies, when my belly would grow, it would pop and it would snap and it would pop and it would hurt. And that doctor of mine would say, I've been doing this for 30 years and you're like top 10, probably most painful pregnancies I've had to witness because of your water retention, because of your hip, and then because of that scar tissue in your stomach that pops and snaps every time your belly grows. So, but yeah, no, I never, there's people that said you should have sued him and you should have done this. The coulda, woulda, shouldas kick in. And I had a reconstructive surgery a couple years ago to get rid of all that scar tissue on the inside, like an ablation, I believe is what they called it, just to kind of clean me out. But no, I always say I'm so mad at that doctor, but at the same time, I would love this is where I start to cry. I would love to show him a picture, of my family, because he tried to play God and I won. He almost screwed my life up.
Yeah, you survived.
I did. And so sometimes I don't want to thank him, but I want to be like, listen, you tried to hurt my future and I didn't let you. Yeah.
That's great.
So he's, thankfully not practicing medicine anymore. So.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah. But a simple surgery, I mean, you just never know. People just need to be prepared for everything, I guess. Mm-hmm. I would have never expected that. In a million years, I would have never expected that I would have had like a botched surgery, that I would married the person that I married, and that I would live where I live right now, like with all these like animals and on a ranch. Like 18-year-old me would have never predicted this.
I say the same thing about myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, that's great. Melissa, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. This is fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Congratulations with your new son. And I hope all the healing goes well.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Wow. What a great story. Doesn't she have a good one? I can't believe she has a stainless steel hip and only 1 ovary and only 1 fallopian tube. And she's had all her kids naturally. Amazing. I thought I would never get pregnant, and they just removed 1 of my fallopian tubes. And the question at the end about the $90,000, if you're confused, that was the bill that she was given after her gallbladder surgery turned ovary and tube removal surgery. There's sometimes you just shouldn't look back or question things. Hey, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast if you haven't already. That really helps Apple know that you like this podcast. And on next week's show, we have Grace that had 2 daughters at 42 and 46. Ugh, her story is so good. I can't wait to share with you. And I will see you next Monday. Bye.